Hello, I'm Kirby Dolak from LCTV and your host for the Watson Drop series. We had planned on focusing on the financial analysis of wastewater management and a possible phasing of a Littleton town-wide sewering project. But instead, we'll be talking with Dave Ketchen, Assistant General Manager of LELWD, on changes to the project that will affect what LELWD has in their special town meeting warrant articles coming up in 2 weeks. We also want to remind viewers that LELWD is hosting a public Zoom forum on wastewater management and sewering October 14th at 7 p.m. Dave, welcome back to Watson Drops. LELWD has been very busy since our last episode. We're anxious to get right into the conversation, but first, can you please explain the public Zoom forum that LELWD is hosting October 14th at 7 p.m.? What will the team be presenting? What are the goals of the event, and how can residents participate in this event?
Thanks for having me, Kirby, and it's great to be back. So we'll be presenting a live update on the progress of the sewer project so far. So it's going to be October 14th at 7 p.m. The forum is going to be conducted using Zoom, and it's going to be streaming live on LCTV as well, so people can follow along either on Zoom or LCTV. And we'll mainly be talking about what happened since last special town meeting last fall, what got us to this point, and what articles we're putting forth at this special town meeting, and then future steps from there. I'd also like to add that residents can ask questions via Zoom, or they can email us at info@lelwd.com. And a Zoom registration link is available on our website, lelwd.com. So that's kind of the short rundown of that event.
Next, let's continue our discussions on the Littleton Sewer Project, which the Littleton Electric Light and Water Department has been working on since last October. Can you please give us an update on the progress of the sewer needs assessment, which you have been working on with CDM since last March?
So CDM Smith has been working with us since last March, as you said. They are currently over halfway complete the needs assessment with the rest of the sections in draft form. We, as a working group, are reviewing these different sections as CDM Smith presents them to us. So far, CDM Smith has given us the environmental analysis, the economic analysis, siting analysis, and technology analysis. We're still waiting for their phasing analysis, the financial review of the project, and their overall recommendations to us. So that's what's to come with the sewer needs assessment, and we hope to have that wrapped up hopefully in the next few weeks.
Dave, I must say that I just finished reviewing section 6 of the CDM document set. I would really highly recommend Littleton residents take the time to go to the LELWD website to read or download a copy of all the sections, but specifically the new section 6 that presents a real layman's view of sewage systems technologies, and also more importantly, the advantages and disadvantages of each of the sewering technologies. Now, where can residents find that information on the LELWD website?
They can visit lelwd.com and click on the sewer page, which is right on our front page. We keep that web page updated with the latest sections from the needs assessment and any other sewer documentation that would be useful to a resident or business owner to view. And there's also an email list that you can join to get updates whenever we add things to that web page, so you can stay up to date as fast as we upload things.
Dave, as I explained in my introduction for today, we're taking a slightly different path by focusing this entire episode on the upcoming special town meeting warrant articles that LELWD is presenting to town residents for approval. Please walk us through the thought and decision processes that LELWD has gone through to come to this point in time, and the request being made in STM Article 11. What are the factors or information points that help to guide your decisions on what's best for the town?
Great questions, Kirby. I've got a few slides to help me answer that and kind of walk the viewers through our decision making and our thought process. So, okay, so I'd like to give a brief overview of the project for people that haven't necessarily kept up with the Watson drops or kept up with the overall progress of the project since last special town meeting in last October. So, as you know, we've got this fall special town meeting, Article 11 and Article 12 discuss the sewer. I'm going to give a recap of the special town meeting from last year, what happened, and then the steps that we've taken since then and where we're at now. Okay, so Article 11, it's going to authorize the sewer division to design, permit, and construct a 175,000 gallon per day discharge site at the Littleton High School. So this site would be a large enough upgrade to support sewering most of the environmentally and economically in need areas in Littleton. But how did we come to this decision? So that's what I want to walk you through here. So last town meeting, Littleton residents voted to change control of the sewer division from the select board to the Board of Water Commissioners. To that point, the select board had been working countless hours to try and develop a solution that would fit the town. Residents also authorized the select board and Board of Water Commissions to select and purchase land for a sewer treatment facility, which I can briefly touch on in my presentation as well. Since the Board of Commissioners took over control of the sewer division, they wanted to discover what had previously been completed on the project, and the best way to do that was to conduct a peer review of all the work that Weston and Sampson had completed for the towns. We decided to contract with STM Smith to complete this work for us, and they were tasked with looking at the hydro-geo report, reviewing the siting analysis, and the financial analysis. So their peer review recommendations, they needed a little more information on the hydro-geo report, so they recommended us conducting a slug test at the existing discharge site that enabled them to shore up their recommendations and results. They also recommended that we define the purpose of the town sewer itself, and they recommended that we perform a needs assessment, which would help define the best way to move forward for the town, and it would provide a new site analysis, a detailed cost estimate, various different sewering options. After the peer review was completed, the Board of Commissioners thought it'd be a good idea to form a sewer working group, which consisted of LELWD and town employees, water commissioners, select board members, and town resident George Sanders. And the goal of this group was to work alongside CDM Smith and the needs assessment and to review each different task that CDM Smith was going to complete along the way, and then make different recommendations to the Board of Water Commissioners so they could make decisions from there. So jumping to CDM Smith's needs assessment, they were given a set of tasks to complete to holistically look at the town and figure out the best way to sewer the town and really deliver to the town what the town needs environmentally and economically regarding the master plan. So I won't go into much detail here, but I would encourage everyone to watch previous Watson Drops episodes. And as I said earlier, visit our website. All of this information is on our website as well. So one of the first things CDM Smith did was look at our water quality and environmental data, and they came up with these different areas of concern. So you can see here they gave us primary and secondary areas of concern, and they sort of took each section individually. Each section, tells its own story, but then at the very end of the needs assessment, each section is put together, and you can completely see why decisions were made the way they were made. This is the first step to the phasing process. So they also performed an economic needs evaluation. So they actually met with Martin Tuhill, the town planner, and they discussed the master plan that was enacted in Littleton a few years ago. And they came up with these 6 different areas that in town really could benefit from having sewer. And I'd like to note that at the time of this needs assessment, we did reach out to IBM. They're currently not interested in town sewer, but we plan to continue having those conversations as this project progresses. CDM Smith also came up with this table to rank the areas of concern here in town. And as you can see, they went through and they ranked different pieces of each area that they determined an area of concern. And they weighted all of those concerns and came up with a total score at the end. And then as a working group, we went through each one of these areas of concern and really discussed in depth how we wanted to go about fixing them, if it was feasible to fix them. And that all sort of helped us choose the phasing of our plan, which I'll get into a little later on. Then CDM Smith moved into the siting analysis, which, as you can see, this map here, you can't see it in much detail, but CDM Smith actually analyzed every single different parcel in Littleton to try and choose where the wastewater treatment plant could be located. From this, they were able to eliminate a lot of parcels right off the bat, but it also helped them create a short list, I guess I'll call it, of 30 different addresses for the working group to analyze, which is this table right here. So as you can see, these 30 different addresses have a total site ranking score at the end based on different weights and filters that CDM Smith used to analyze each site. And based on that, the working group has narrowed this list down even more, and we're even actively in discussions with site owners to see if they're interested in potentially selling one of these parcels to the town. Next came the phasing plan. So as I stated before, all of the data and analysis that CDM Smith conducted was used to create a phasing plan that would get Littleton help to the areas that it needed most, while building it out in a way that made most sense, I guess, feasibility-wise. I'm actually going to jump out of this and jump into Bluebeam. This is just a larger map of what I had on that slide. So as you can see here, there's 4 different phases that we determined would best work for the town to sewer the different areas that were needed and to try and grow a customer base large enough to make this sewer system work for the residents. So phase 1, we actually separated into phase 1A and phase 1B. So phase 1A is the common area south of 495, and phase 1B is the Beaver Brook area north of 495. So we did it that way because immediately we thought that the common area needed the sewering most, and phase 1B, the Beaver Brook area, needs it just as bad, but not right away, as you can see here. That's why we separated the way we did. So let me show you this table here. So CDM Smith provided estimated wastewater flows per phase. So if you look here, the totals on the bottom, all of these the 4 phases combined come out to that 175,000 gallon per day ask that we're asking for at town meeting. So that number would actually get you enough capacity to sewer all these 4 phases, which that's crucial, and that build out, could be over the next 5 years. It could be over the next 20 years, depending on what direction the town wants us to take this in. But these were the areas that made most sense per CDM's analysis. So I'll jump back into my slideshow here. Okay, so moving on. So the discharge location. So Weston and Sampson originally with the select board explored upgrading the existing discharge site, which is currently located at Littleton High School, which is currently underneath the fields that you see on the screen now. And CDM Smith actually confirmed Weston and Sampson's analysis in their peer review. And what they were stating is this is the best location for a large discharge site in Littleton. So this just makes the most sense to move forward with. DEP's actually already approved this discharge site at the 175,000 gallons per day. So it just makes the most sense. So as you can see, this blue square is the proposed infiltration area. So that's where we would be excavating and installing the upgraded and expanded discharge site. And then you can also see the wells, where those wells are located on this picture. So as I said, the existing site is here now, and this would just expand upon that. So Article 11 would authorize the sewer division to design, permit, and construct that 175,000 gallon per day discharge site at the Littleton High School. This would be large enough to support sewering the most environmentally and economically in needs area in Littleton. So another thing to note here, which is on my slide, is out of the 2.5 million not to exceed number that we're asking for, 1.5 million of that will be covered by the MassWorks grant that we've been previously approved for. So getting this infrastructure in the ground will allow us to basically use that grant that we've been approved for. And that's obviously over half of what we're estimating this to cost. So it's eventually could only cost the taxpayers of Littleton only $1 million. So if you take that $1 million and spread it out over 20 years at 4%, it's only going to be about $73,000 per year at worst case scenario that it's going to cost the town. But I should also mention that building out this site will allow us to add more users to help offset those costs. So the Article 11, which is the discharge expansion project at the Littleton High School, is the first tangible step for LWD to take in establishing the infrastructure that will enable sewering at the Common and the Beaverbrook areas.
Article 11 will increase the high school's site's discharge capacity tenfold, basically, from the permitted 17,600 gallons per day to 175,000 gallons per day, which again, you showed us how you got to those numbers. What will physically be done at the current discharge site? And will the new process be merely an add-on to what system's already there?
So physically, as you saw the map I pulled up of the high school field, here I'll pull it up again. So physically in this blue rectangle here is where the discharge site would be installed. So we would have to excavate this entire area and basically upgrade the existing discharge site to the 175,000 gallon per day site in that area there. And as for the second part of your question, this will be an add-on to the existing site. However, in order to use the entire site, we will need to build a new wastewater treatment plant, which we've kind of stated the entire time. The existing treatment facility, which is currently at the high school, will be usable until such time that we need a larger plant.
With Article 11 being approved by Littleton residents October 17th at special town meeting, what's going to happen next? What are the rough next steps in the wastewater management and sewering? And how will the rest of CDM's report be used to determine the next steps, and in what time frame? Is there an expectation that LWD is going to be back at the 2021 annual town meeting with additional articles for funding of the next stages?
Yeah, that's a great question, Kirby. So after hopefully the discharge site passes on October 17th, the next steps will be to have CDM Smith finalize their needs assessment, review it with the working group. They will make a recommendation on the different technology that we should use, the site we should use, and we're going to take that recommendation and analyze it ourselves and then make a recommendation to the Board of Water Commissioners. Then the Board of Water Commissioners will basically decide what steps are next in building out this plant. With that, I would expect LWD to be back hopefully in spring of 2021 to ask for the next phase of this project and hopefully be ready for construction of some type. for the plant.
Now, shifting gears to the second component of the water and wastewater management is Article 12, which I guess is more of a placekeeper because it's ensuring that LELWD has that the home rule petition actually continues on in the next legislative session if necessary. Can you please update us on the current status of that legislation?
Absolutely. I'm very happy to update you on that, Kirby. That specific bill has been enacted at both the House and the Senate level and is now laid before the governor.
Well, that's excellent news. That means we're finally going to see some real things happening here on the local level.
Absolutely.
All righty. So thanks very much, Dave, for bringing us up to speed on what's actually happening will be happening in Article 11 and Article 12. We're really looking forward to the forum next Wednesday. Let's see, the 14th, I believe, 7 p.m. It'll be on the public channels of LCTV and also streaming. So, Dave, again, thank you very much for your time and attention. And I guess we'll be talking to Corey next.
Thanks a lot, Kirby. It was a pleasure.
Shifting topics from wastewater management to water management, we're back with Corey Godfrey, Water Quality Manager for the Littleton Water Department. Corey's going to go through the special town meeting articles 10, 13, and 14 for the Littleton Water Department. Corey, nice to see you back. Can you please recap the background for Article 10? Watson Drops did several episodes focus on polyfluoroalkyl substances, or PFAS.
Sure, thanks for having me, Kirby. Many Littleton water customers have been plagued by discolored water for many years now, and that's mainly due to naturally occurring iron and manganese in the groundwater that supplies our wells. 2 of our 3 well sites actually already have iron and manganese removal plants, but not Whitcomb Ave. So in 2018, annual town meeting approved $7 million to construct an iron and manganese filtration facility at Whitcomb Ave. After that facility was fully designed and ready to go out to bid, the PFAS that you mentioned were found in the Spectacle Pond well on the other side of town. So we immediately began preparations to implement both a short-term and long-term solution to the PFAS contamination. We had installed a temporary blending pipeline that went online this past June, and that's allowed us to ensure PFAS levels stay below the 20 part per trillion drinking water standard. We had also immediately began the design of a permanent PFAS filtration facility. However, the Spectacle Pond treatment facility is already 23 years old, and it actually has pretty poor iron and manganese removal performance. So that was an issue in and of itself. But the PFAS filter technology actually requires that the water going into the PFAS filters is completely free of iron and manganese. So the Spectacle Pond plant would have had to be either replaced or completely renovated before we could even consider adding PFAS treatment to it. So rather than build 2 separate facilities, a life cycle cost analysis determined that construction of one facility with a transmission pipeline to connect the 2 well sources would be the more economical solution. At the 2019 fall special town meeting and got approved an additional $6 million to cover the temporary blending pipeline costs and to completely redesign the original Whitcomb Ave water treatment plant in order to account for essentially double the flow capacity and to add the filtration of PFAS in addition to iron and manganese. And at that time, we told fall special town meeting in 2019 that was just to get us started, and we would be back for significantly more once we did the engineering and got a full cost estimate for all phases of the project.
Corey, that was a great recap. Now that LWD has done the engineering, what's the bottom line to address the water quality issues and help resolve the PFAS issues that have been identified?
Yeah, so the bottom line is it's going to take an additional $17 million to completely remove iron, manganese, and PFAS from both the Spectacle Pond well and the Whitcomb Ave wells.
Yeah, you're right. It is a large sum. But didn't Littleton residents already authorize a large portion of that a month in the previous town meetings? And then also, what's the impact on water rates on taxes Are there any state funds that we can tap into for possibly solving these problems?
Yeah, trust me, I know it's a lot of money, and it's on top of the $13 million that was already authorized. So we're talking about a total of $30 million here. So I'm not going to lie, it's obviously going to have an impact on your water bill, but it will not affect taxes in any way, only water rates. So unlike taxes, you have the ability to control your water bill to a certain extent. And we've been working closely with the Mass Department of Environmental Protection and the Massachusetts Clean Water Trust, and we're listed as a high priority project for them to fund at a 0% interest rate. So the Massachusetts Clean Water Trust issues 0% interest rate loans for PFAS filtration projects, essentially. And a 0% interest rate on a $30 million loan will save the ratepayers $3.4 million compared to a traditional bond. And we've already received a 0% interest loan for the temporary blending pipeline. So that was a little under $1 million, but we expect to receive it for the full $30 million for the whole treatment plant. And we're also submitting grant applications to receive additional money through the state.
So Corey, back in an earlier Watts and Drop episode, I asked Nick Lawler, the general manager of LELWD, whether there was any way that the actual polluters that caused this problem could be identified and that the town eventually seeks damage compensation for it.
Yeah, we've been aggressively pursuing the PFAS polluters to seek cost recovery from them. That process is a long one. It'll take years. It should eventually result in reimbursement of some, if not all, of these costs. I should also mention that we've designed this treatment plant to be as future-proof as possible. So, and what I mean by that is basically, with the uncertainty surrounding these emerging contaminants, as we call them, like PFAS, including the many as yet unregulated PFAS compounds. Because if you remember from an earlier episode, the state is currently only regulating 6 PFAS compounds, but there's 7,000 of them out there. So it's likely that additional ones will be regulated in the future. And so with that in mind, we've designed a plant that is agile enough to adapt to a rapidly changing regulatory environment. So the plant will be removing iron, manganese, arsenic, and a whole wide range of PFAS compounds, not just the 6 that are being regulated. In addition, if the selected filter media, so the stuff inside of the filter vessels that actually removes the PFAS, if that doesn't remove some unanticipated future contaminant, we've designed the filter systems so that we can swap out the media inside to be able to remove those compounds at very minimal cost. We've also sized this plant for 3 million gallons per day, even though we will initially only be pumping about 2 million gallons a day through it. So this will allow us the flexibility to meet future anticipated water demands in Littleton, ensuring Littleton's water security given the uncertainty and time frame surrounding the Cobb's Well project and the Nagog Pond project, which are our 2 sort of long-term projects to get additional water for Littleton.
Corey, for Article 13, LWD is ensuring that the general court petition for the new Whitcomb Avenue water treatment plant land continues on into the next legislative session if necessary, right? Can you please update us on the current status of that legislation, please?
Town meeting had previously authorized the select board to file a petition with the state legislature to remove any doubt that the water department can build a water treatment plant on the land at Whitcomb Ave. So Article 12 of the October 28th, 2019 special town meeting was passed with 94% support. However, due to a number of factors, including COVID-19's impact on the legislature's ability to meet in person for roll call votes, the legislation didn't really go anywhere until just a few months ago, at which point it finally started moving at a more typical pace. So the bill has gone through the committees on the 3rd reading in both the House and the Senate, and now simply needs a roll call vote in each chamber before heading to the governor to be signed. So we anticipate that to happen in just a matter of weeks, but just in case it doesn't happen before the end of the calendar year, we will need this article to authorize the select board to refile during the new legislative session.
Corey, Article 14 looks like a very positive windfall for the town. For the 2 previous years' articles, 2018 ATM and 2019 special town meeting, it looks like we can borrow at a better, much better, newer rate, saving the town finance charges like you talked about before. Please educate us on what that means.
Sure, yeah, so this article simply amends the two previous borrowing articles to allow us to borrow at a 0% interest rate through the Massachusetts Clean Water Trust. So these 0% interest loans are specifically targeted to water suppliers with PFAS contamination, and they only became available this past year. So we're seeking to amend the previous borrowing authorizations to allow us to borrow through that entity. So this should actually save our ratepayers $3.4 million over the life of the loan compared to bonding on the open market.
Corey, that's great information. I appreciate the status. I'm sure that the residents of Littleton will feel much better now that they understand what's happening with the articles that are requested for our next and upcoming special town meeting in 2 weeks. Thanks again for taking the time to brief town residents on water-related special town meeting articles today. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Kirby.
We want to thank Dave Ketchen, Assistant General Manager for LELWD, and Corey Godfrey, Water Quality Manager, for being with us today. In this special episode of Watson Drops, we took a closer look at the LELWD special town articles that deal with wastewater management and drinking water management. Dave spoke to us about Articles 11 and 12. He provided viewers with an excellent summary of what LELWD has done since the transfer of the wastewater management project to their control. He explained about the areas of concern that have been identified by CDM. Dave explained the thought processes that LELWD went through to get us to Article 11, to expand the wastewater discharge site at the high school. He explained what will be done on that site after town residents approve Articles 11 and 12. Next, Corey gave us the background and referenced previous Watson Drops PFAS episodes on the issues and concerns with current water treatment facilities and the decision to use the Whitcomb Avenue property to site a new future-proofed water treatment facility. One that will deal not only with iron and manganese, but also the identified PFAS contamination. Corey explained about the temporary blending water main that was installed in June. It has had an impact not only in the quantity of water available during a drought, but the impact on our water bills as LELWD moves to design, finance, and build the state-of-the-art facility at Whitcomb Ave. Corey explained that 0% interest rate financing is available to Littleton through the Massachusetts Clean Water Trust. Remember that LELWD is hosting a public forum Wednesday, October 14th at 7 p.m. Zoom meeting information is posted on their website, and they are requesting that you pre-register for that event. The event will also air on Comcast 8 and Verizon 38 and streaming on LCTV's on-demand site. We hope that Littleton Town residents have found these episodes helpful in understanding the issues for wastewater and drinking water management, and the holistic approach that LELWD has applied to getting the data and incorporating Littleton residents in the process. Finally, we encourage all residents to feel comfortable to attend the special town meeting October 17th at 9 a.m. at Alumni Field. Thank you for watching this episode of Watson Drops, specifically focusing on wastewater management and drinking water management for the town of Littleton.